What's going on, fellas? So today we are going to do some self-mastery. Alright guys, and today's lesson is actually a great lesson that if you have children or students, that you can actually teach your children or your students, because this lesson requires you to use your imagination. Alright G, now because this is such a serious and vital lesson for you guys today as a grown-ass man, I'm going to make this fun. Because as a child, when you were a child, you had an imagination. And at some point in your life, the shit got dulled down and you started getting serious. You started taking shit too serious and you lost it, all right, fellas? But we're going to dive back into it today. Now, as a man, I'm just like you guys. I'm no better than you and I'm no worse. And you're no better than me or you're no worse. So with that being said, we all as men almost live the same life, meaning we go through the same shit. All right, fellas, we have the same insecurities, the same doubts, the same pleasures, the same desires. There's three things. I like to call these things dragons. All right, fellas, and if you know me, you know that I love dragons. All right, fellas, because unlike some of you guys, I still have my imagination. So we're going to break down these dragons today, because when you learn to overcome these dragons, and I'm not saying get rid of them, I'm not saying hide from them, and I'm definitely not saying to act like they don't exist. Every man has these three dragons. Now, are these dragons bad? Not at all. Are these dragons good? Not at all. They just are what they are. Now, depending on how you use these dragons, depending on how you wield ego, fear, and lust, that is going to determine the results you get out of life. Now, fellas, I'm going to give you the dark side and the light side of these three dragons. All right, fellas? Now, why are these dragons? Why do I use dragons as an analogy for ego, lust, and fear? The reason why is because a dragon is a mystical creature. And like I said, we all have these dragons. Dragons can be used for good, they can be used for bad. Depending on the story that's told, that dragon either is going to be a hero or a villain. All right, fellas, now, what's the good thing about dragons? Dragons can fly. Dragons are big, they're strong, they're dangerous, they breathe fire, they do all this shit. In every ancient story, dragons guarded mystical truth and treasures. All right, fellas, so if you had a dragon, you had something that you can get on top of his back and fly the fuck away no matter where you want it to go. And nobody will fuck with you if you had a dragon, G, because unlike a dog, they ain't friendly. All right, fellas, you can't really domesticate them, but you can wield them when you understand them. Now, what are the downsides of a dragon? If you don't tame it, if you don't feed it the right food, if you don't understand that that dragon is not a fucking parrot, it will turn its back on you. And sometimes not in the case to attack you, but only to protect you. All right, fellas, make you feel like you're doing the right thing. Make you feel like you feeling good when you really tormenting and sabotaging yourself. All right, fellas, so let's break this down. And I'm going to break this down easy, all right, fellas? So this is going to be one of the ones that you guys are going to have to take notes. Pass this down to your friends, your brothers, your little cousins, babies, kids, all of them. All right, G? Let's get right into it. Now, there is a result, because I want to leave you guys excited about the end of the video so you make it to the end, all right, guys? There is a result that comes out of ego, fear, and lust. When you don't get rid of these things, all right? Now, when you think of the word lust, and I'm going to get to lust, that's number 3. When you think of the word lust, what do you think of? You just being nasty, all right, fellas? Lust ain't bad when you understand your desires. When you understand your desires, don't get rid of them. Just understand them and when not to use them, all right, fellas? Just like fear. Fear can be used as a catalyst, but it also can be used as a danger, all right, fellas? And just like ego, G, y'all know we talk about ego death, right? G, don't get rid of your ego. And I'm going to talk about ego first, but don't get rid of your ego. Now, from these three things, anger usually stems from this. And I'm going to show you how this works. All right, guys? Now, let's talk about ego. All right, now, like I said, we always talk about ego death. Ego, like I said, is like a dragon. All right, fellas, the thing that ego does for you, just like a dragon, if you were to hop on top of a dragon's back, a dragon will keep you high, above everything. All right, and that's what your ego does. Your ego, and let me tell you about your ego. Your ego is not something you get rid of. Your ego is something you use. All right, fellas, let me show you the biggest thing you'll get out your ego. And God gave you this, all right? It's a tool you use. Just like any tool, if you don't understand that a saw is sharp, you can use it to cut down a tree, but you can cut off your arm as well. So just like the dragon, fellas, ego is not bad. It'll keep you high. It'll bring you confidence. But at the same time, if you have done nothing to earn this confidence, your ass will be floating high thinking you better than everybody else. All right, fellas, when you really haven't done nothing. And you know this internally, all right, fellas. And not only do you know this, but everybody around you knows this as well. All right, guys, this is why I always talk about silence. If you haven't earned the right to talk shit, don't talk shit yet. So your ego brings you confidence. So your ego ain't bad. But this is what will happen sometimes if you don't understand how and when to control and when to use your ego. Your ego sometimes will make you narcissistic. All right, fellas, did I spell it right? Narcissistic. All right, guys, if I didn't spell it right, y'all let me know. But G, your ego will get you to the point sometimes where you think you better than everybody in the damn room. And not only do you think you better than everybody in the room, but you're using superficial shit. Like because you got a great physique, you think you better than everybody in the room, whole time you the brokest. Or you got the most money and you think you better than everybody in the room, whole time your emotions ain't in check. And if anything happened in that room, you're going to be the first person to crash out. All right, fellas, this is what your ego can do for you. Now, let me show you the result to this. I'm not going to get to anger yet, but I'm going to show you some downsides to your ego if you don't know how to control it. If you let this confidence, G, your ego is your higher self. That's why it's the dragon that flies. All right, G? This is the one that keeps you above shit when you're going through shit in life. And you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, I'm the fucking man. And ain't nothing gonna control me. Why? Because I know what I put in my mind, I put out. So as long as I keep putting in greatness, as long as I keep saying shit like, I'm gonna write this at the top, G. Because I want y'all to start saying this, all right, fellas? It really doesn't have nothing to do with the video, but I want you to start saying this. As long as I keep saying I am, it don't matter what I'm going through in life, G, I'm going to make it. G, that's your ego. Because ain't no way your ass going to be behind on your bills, overdraft on your checking account, your credit bad, and your ass just went through a breakup. Ain't no way in your right mind you still going to say I am. So that's your ego, but that's what God gave you. He told you to say I am no matter what. But at the same time, all right, read the room, G. All right, don't be, G, understand. If you ain't did it yet, G, tell yourself I am. But don't go in the rooms when you ain't qualified, when qualifications are necessary, and you walking around saying I am, and they looking at your resume like, no, you not. All right, read the room. When it comes to you doubting yourself, yes, keep your ego high. But when it comes to you measuring yourself against other people, G, we all are equal. You ain't better than, I ain't better than you. You ain't better than me. Everybody is the same. In real life, all right? Maybe not on social media, but in real life, all right? Maybe not at your job, but in real life, all right? Maybe not in your friend circle, but in real life. We all are the same. So when you understand that, you don't let your ego get above you. Another way you control your ego is having gratitude, all right, guys? Look, when you are grateful for the things you got in your life, ain't no way you gonna let shit that you get. I'm gonna show you how guys lose control of their ego, all right? This dragon is dangerous because a lot of guys let shit that they get, material shit, make them more confident than they actually supposed to be. I don't think there's a necessary limit to how confident you're supposed to be, but some of you guys let this shit get you out of control. If you flying that dragon, all right, it's nothing wrong with you letting that dragon take you as high as you want. But when that dragon start taking your ass into space and places where your ass can't even breathe, G, get off the fucking dragon, all right? Or tell that bitch to calm down. At a certain point, you got to understand when you are letting your exterior world drive your mind to a place where it can't survive, all right? That's why, let me make this simple. That's why some of you guys get shit and then you lose it way quicker than you get it. Why? Because you didn't build the mindset to sustain what you got, so your ego flew your ass off the damn ledge. And you didn't have the strength and the mental muscle to hold on. This is why these dragons are so dangerous, G. If you don't understand how to control them. If I told you to get rid of your ego completely, you would become docile and pussy. Alright? For all the ladies watching this video, you're going to have to turn this off because it ain't for y'all. G, you will become a bitch. Why? Because there is nothing in you that's going to say I am. Your ego says I am. But your ego also says I'm better than him or I'm better than him. Alright, G? So understand. Control it. Don't get rid of it. Don't become a fucking narcissist. Alright? Ain't nothing wrong with confidence. Some people going to tell you something wrong with that. Some people going to tell you get rid of your ego. Alright? And be humble. Humility is overrated at times. At times. Alright? It's case by case. It's day and night to everything. Alright? It's a law of polarity. So there's no good or bad to anything. It is what it is. Alright? So control this shit. Next one. Fear. Alright, fellas? This is the red dragon. Alright? This is the one. Oh, man. Gee, I would say this is the most dangerous one. Alright, fellas? But I'm going to be honest. All of them are beasts. Alright? If you don't control any of them, especially if you're going through all three. Alright, guys? But anyway, fear. Now, let me talk about the positive sides of fear. Fear can give you intuition. Alright? Fear can give you survival instincts. Gee, if you walking in the hood, alright? If you walking in the hood and you ain't never been there before, and everybody that's there know you ain't never been there before, out of fear, you're not going to be talking shit, nor will you be flamboyant, nor will you be walking around like you don't know where the fuck you going. Alright, G? Fear does that. G, you can't lie and say when you see a big ass pit bull, your ass ain't scared. If you wasn't scared, you wouldn't run. Everybody runs. Why? Because that bitch is going to bite your ass. So listen to me. Fear ain't bad sometimes. Fear keeps you sharp. Because there's a rule that I learned a long time ago. It's the paranoid always survive. Why? Because they take that fear and they transmute it. They alchemize it into awareness. Now, that's the first thing about fear. That's the good part about fear, all right? Fear will give you awareness. If you have no fear, that means you don't have awareness of danger, all right? Listen to me. Now, what's the bad part of fear? The bad part of fear is being a bitch. All right, fellas. Now, listen to me. I'm going to relate this in many scenarios, and I'm going to go through this quick. All right, guys. Now, let's talk about work, business, money, finances, and success. Guys, if you are scared to take risk, you will never make money. That's one thing. If you are scared, okay, let me rewind. Okay, it's not that if you're scared. Because the shit is scary sometimes. When I write my goals down and I start writing out all them zeros, G, oh my God, I'm staring at that shit like I'm in the Twilight Zone. All right, I got to snap myself out of it. All right, if I get lost in the O's and the zeros. All right, guys. But listen to me. Just because it gives me a little sting, you know, a little shock of fear, that don't mean I'm going to back away from it and not do it. All right, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to run full speed through it. But listen to me. If you don't make a damn move, fellas, all right, that's the problem. So that's the money thing. You ain't going to make money if you're scared to make a move. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're scared to approach a customer, you're not going to make money. If you're scared to make a phone call, you're not going to make money. If you're staring at an email for 30 minutes before you pull the trigger to send it, you're not going to make money. Simple as that. Simple. So with women, all right, guys, because I know y'all been waiting on this. With women, make a damn move. If you see a beautiful woman and you know that's the only time you're going to see her, why? Because you're probably at the mall, at the store, you don't go there often, it's millions of people that live in your city, so chances of you seeing her again is slim to none. If you see that beautiful woman and you don't make a fucking move, fellas, you are not going to get pussy, all right, fellas? You are going to go through a drought and it's only going to be your fault because it's not because you're scared. Gee, every beautiful woman I see, there's a little, at this point, not really, but before, there was a small bit of fear I would have, but I still had, G, if I don't approach that woman, not only, G, am I going to lose out on that opportunity, but God going to be looking down on me like, you bitch. So listen to me. This is the dragon. All right, fellas. The good thing about this fellas, wield it. So if you walk around, I ain't scared of shit. Dude, that be the main dudes get knocked upside their damn head. All right, why? Because you walk around talking about you ain't scared of shit. That means your ass is just loose and vulnerable wherever you go. That be the same dudes that get fucked up, sloppy, drunk at the club. Why? Because they ain't scared of shit. They don't know it's a certain point where your awareness just goes away by how drunk you get. All right, fellas? So understand, it's a dragon. So you use this awareness. You use this sharpness. You use this intuitiveness. But at the same time, don't be a bitch. All right, fellas? Gee, I see a lot of guys when we talk about fighting and all this. Gee, I ain't trying to get you in a fight, nor do I want you to be violent. All right, fellas? But there's a fine line between you walking away from a fight because you don't want to go to jail, you don't want to hurt somebody, you don't want to hurt yourself, you don't want to cause a scene, you don't want something on your record, versus you just being a bitch. All right, fellas? So wield this dragon. Now, next one, before we get to anger. Now, guys, you guys don't want to miss this, all right? This is very important how I'm going to connect everything. Now, through all of this, all right? Through all of this, I am. Now, listen, lust. All right? Now, the reason why I saved this one for last, y'all been waiting on this one, huh? The reason why I saved this one for last is because this one is, you guys tried to manipulate this one. So think about a dragon. Like I said, if you had a dragon as a pet, you can manipulate a dog. All right, you can trick a dog. I've had many dogs before. For all you guys who have pets, if you have a dog, you can trick a dog. All you got to do is have a treat. All right, a treat and a smile. But dragons are smart, probably way smarter than humans. They're ancient creatures, meaning them bitches are very old. So they've been here before. So they know shit. So you can't manipulate a dragon, meaning that dragon knows what your ass like. And it knows what you don't like. It knows all your deep, dark, nasty desires. So with that being said, G, listen to me. Desire is good. Having a strong, deep, burning desire for women is good. And it's great. And actually, if you lose this, fellas, you lose a big portion of your drive to get what you need done in your life. All right? Most of my inspiration for business, for work, for making money, for keeping my body in shape, and I'm not going to lie, G, y'all know me. I'm going to keep it real with you, is women. All right, I'm going to keep it real with you. If it were not for women, I would not be in the shape that I am. I would still be healthy as shit, but it would be no need for me to be as strong as I am. Guys, keep it real with yourself. All right, fellas, the reason why you guys want to know how to get your body right, how to get this right, even how to fix this shit, is because you know once you fix this shit, you gonna be, G, stop lying to me, all right? You got to keep it real, all right? Stop lying to me. You know once you even fix this shit, your ass will be a good... So for all you guys who say, I ain't worried about no women, G, once you get your life together, it's in your masculine nature to want to pursue a divine woman once you become a divine man. So don't lie to me. So don't get rid of your desire. Don't get rid of it. Love women. Don't turn this off. All right, guys? That's why I said you can't manipulate a dragon. You guys think that if you go semen retention and just because you stop watching those videos, you think that desire is going to go away. No, G. That shit creep up on your ass like a fucking snake. All right, fellas? That's why I say, don't play with this shit, all right? Some of you guys, you stop jerking off, but you still look at videos on Instagram of these hoes twerking. Gee, you got to pay attention. That's why you end up relapsing. All right, fellas? Now, I'm not going to go get all deep into that. I'm just saying, I know the truth. So, listen to me, G. That's the good part. Desire. All right, fellas? But this is the bad part. And I'm going to give you a big, sharp word. All right, fellas? Sabotage. All right, fellas? Now, I'm not going to lie, G. I made many mistakes in my life. So I'm one to talk. All right, fellas? I made many when it comes to women. Woo, G. When you get to a point where you don't have to approach women, all right, fellas, it gets bad. That's it's day and night to everything, G. Polarity, right? That's the upside of it. You don't have to approach women. Getting women is easy. Bagging women is like shooting marbles, all right, fellas? But this is what you got to understand. It's a downside to that shit if you don't know who you are. Listen to me, G. It's a downside to that shit Gee, oh my God. And then all this shit combines. Let me show you how lust will fuck you up. If you have a strong desire for women, but you have a fear, because you don't know yourself, you have a fear, insecurity, that's what we call it. But if you have a fear that if you don't get women to validate you, you're not going to feel like a man, you're going to sabotage. If you have a strong desire for women, which you should, but your ego is flying so damn high that you say the more women I get, the better man I'm going to be, or more of a man I'm going to be, you're going to sabotage. All right, fellas, so you got to control, you don't get rid of this shit. Control it. If you get rid of any of this stuff, you're going to become docile, dumb. It's many words. All right, fellas? So now, let's tie this to anger, all right? How do we get to anger? And I'm going to make this quick, all right, guys? How do we get to anger? Anger comes up. How does ego bring anger? The biggest emotion or the worst emotion men have is what? Getting fucking mad. Crashing the fuck out. Not knowing how to control your damn emotions when somebody piss you off and tell you something. Listen to me. When somebody offends you, all right, fellas, and says something, listen to me. And say, I'm going to make anger quick, all right, because I don't want to spend too much time on this negative shit. But listen to me. When somebody says something to you and it doesn't align with who you think you are, if you really know who you are, you're not going to get mad. You're not going to care. Why? Because you done convince yourself too much. If you black, I'm black, all right? If you black and somebody come to me and tell me I'm white, you think I'm going to care? You think I'm going to get mad? No, why? Because I know I'm not white, stupid, okay? So listen to me. Your ego only get offended when you think something you not, or when somebody tell you something that goes against what you think you are. But if you just get rid of all that external shit and say I am and believe I am and know who you are, who God made you, ain't no reason to get mad. All right, most of the shit we get mad about is some shit somebody else did or said, which it don't really even fucking matter. All right, fellas, now let's talk about fear. Fellas, fear will make your ass get mad. I'm going to show you how. Remember I told you was walking through the hood? Let's say you walk through the hood and then you got dudes looking at you funny and they up and down on you. Or let's make it worse. Let's say you with your girl and they up and down on you and you get offended and because you scared, because you pussy and you think something going to happen, your ass crash out. All right, and you just start reacting, and now you get into some shit, and I don't know what the fuck happened, I don't know. You probably sitting in jail. Your ass probably laying on the ground. Your bitch got tooken already, and she ain't get hit upside the head. A bunch of shit happened because your ass decided to get mad because you were scared instead of being aware. So understand, now lust. How does lust connect to anger? And I've seen this many fucking times. And I ain't gonna get into specific, all right, guys? But let me help you understand something, We all, desire, right? There's nothing wrong with your desire for a woman. But if a woman don't want you, don't get mad. If a woman rejects you, don't get mad. If a woman says you're not her type, don't get mad. If a woman doesn't want to sleep with you, don't get mad. This is easy, all right? But what happens, that dragon, let a woman say anything contrary to what your ass thought she was going to say, Let that happen. That dragon gonna start going the fuck crazy. All right, I'm talking about a whirlwind of bullshit. All right, fellas, so listen to me. This anger represents that fire that these dragons breathe. All right, fellas, ain't nothing wrong with you having a damn dragon, but once that bitch start breathing out fire and smoke, that's when shit go to hell. All right, fellas, so I can easily tell you to control your anger, but what you gotta understand is your anger is stemmed from a bunch of shit. All right, don't get rid of your anger. Your anger is even necessary at times, but only when it stems from your confidence. All right, only when it stems from your awareness. When you see something bad and you know it's bad in your soul and you call that shit out, that's your fear of something bad happening because you aware and your ego standing up and saying, this shit not going down like that. All right, fellas, that's you being a man. Fellas, lust. Oh my God, Gee, ain't no way we can tie anger into lust because that shit don't make no sense. I'm just saying, fellas, control this shit. All right, fellas, control this shit. Because this thing about lust, G, this thing you don't understand. The consequences of this, G, the consequences of this. All right, fellas, this is shit you can't even come back from. This is shit where you spend your whole life thinking about that one moment, twiddling your thumbs like, damn, I should have just went home. So if we just take these words out and replace them, replace lust with desire, replace fear with intuition and awareness, replace ego with confidence and higher self. All right. And the last thing I want to tell you guys, something I want you guys to start practicing. When you wake up in the morning, it's not really related to the video, but when you wake up in the morning, I want you to start saying, I am. All right, fellas, I am. Gee, I don't care what you going through. All this I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. I'm getting my life together. Gee, that ain't enough. That's good. And I'm glad you're getting your life together. And I'm glad you're working on it. Gee, the fact you made it this far in the video means a lot. Because y'all know I saved the game to the end. But I'm just saying, gee, I understand you're not there yet in this external world. But understand, I am. All right, fellas, I am. As the man thinketh, so is he. I am. So whatever you think, so you will be. I am. All right, fellas. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Share this video with a homeboy that this will help out. All right, guys. It's your boy KD. We out here, baby.